Okay, this is for some of you reacting to what I've seen in class. And we want to have this arch when we play the piano. So the arch is the knuckles that are up, so it forms an arch, it's a curved thing. This is also called the bridge. You want the bridge to be up, not to be down. So the thing to watch for is the space between 1 and 2. You want to have an opening here. See that shape needs to be there. I think of it as a cave as well, that people can go inside and stay inside. So you want to have that to be there and supported. What happens with some of you, especially maybe you're stressed and the more tense you get is, what happens is this happens. Okay, so it goes flat, you see that as well. The thumb also becomes tense like that instead of relaxed or tense. So to keep the arch in place, you need to be thinking about it. And so one of the things that can help though is keeping the thumb close to the second finger. If the thumb goes back, you see, if you pull the thumb back, we tend to lose the arch if the thumb is back. So many of you do that, okay? So for example, you might be playing something like this. Then you pull back the thumb. So let's say I'm here on the black notes, and then instead of just going down like that, maybe I might pull it back further, you see? Instead of maintaining the same shape. Okay? So keep the thumb close to the second finger, and that will help to maintain the arch. Having a good supported arch is the number one thing in a good hand shape, or hand position, as some people say. This is the number one thing. So if you don't have this consistently in place, you want to continue working on making it a habit for your hand, so your hand automatically goes into that supported arch shape whenever it plays, no matter what. Whoops, wrong notes. But you see the arch, even when my hand is flat, you see my hand is pretty flat, you see that's still raised, that's still a supported arch, that's still supported. Now watch, there we go, that is not a supported arch. So I'm playing a big chord, still arch is there. Let's try a different one. It's still there, still there. Let's try a big chord. And it's a big chord, you see I'm spread out, but at least here you see, we see that that's supported. Now collapsed, supported, collapsed. Okay, octave with a supported arch, 7th octave, 9th, now collapsed. So this is a very common issue for pianists, and it is the number one foundation of a good hand shape. So I encourage you to keep working on that. And again, the thumb being close to the other fingers, it helps to keep the hand shape up. That's why I always tell students to keep the thumb on the keyboard and not to let it come off, because if the thumb is off, bam, we lose it. Thumb on the keyboard, it helps to raise the arch there. Okay, so that's the number one thing. The other thing is with the minor chords, we're having difficulty, understandably so. So again, you got to come back to the basics. Do you know your scales? Because we're using a mix of harmonic, si, la, as well as the sol, la, natural minor as well. So do you know your scales? If not, I know many of you still need to keep practicing. Day in, day out, week in, week out. We have to keep practicing so they become ingrained in our fingers. Melodic, sorry. And a natural. Sorry. It's, yeah, I need another cup of tea. So we need to know the notes of our scales very well. So and that means visually as well, right? So we can just find the note. Then so, si, la, we're using both so and si in the chord pattern there. And again, knowing our chords. So every time you play a chord, for example, if I'm doing D harmonic, D minor chords, let me start with the tonic in the top or the pinky, okay? Tonic in the top, okay? We have this first inversion shape. So we need to know 100% this, the feel, okay? The fingering also, but the feel of this first inversion shape, that's D minor first inversion, E diminished first inversion, F first inversion, then F augmented, right? G minor first inversion, A first inversion, B flat first inversion, C first inversion, C sharp diminished, and all the way to D minor. So we need to know those chords very well. So that means we have to keep practicing our inversion, triad inversions. We also need to have consistent fingering. I think this is something maybe I haven't stressed enough, but I think it's an issue. Normally, I don't want to make fingering an issue, but that is how we play the piano. So if you're not secure in your fingering, if it's inconsistent, if you maybe are using the bad fingering, it's all going to affect you. So I would strongly encourage you to consistently use 1, 2, 5 for a first inversion type chord voicing for the right hand. Okay, so root position with the 5th in the top, that'll be 1, 3, 5. First inversion will be 1, 2, 5, and second inversion with the 3rd in the top will be 1, 3, 5, again in the right hand. So I recommend you be quite consistent with those. Again, it doesn't have to be, but I suspect for many of you, by not being consistent, like sometimes you'll use 1, 3, 5, so sometimes you'll use 1, 2, 4, sometimes you'll do 1, 2, 5, you know, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 4, you know, it goes all over the place. So you are not building up muscle memory for a shape. That shape, that basic shape. I just used 1, 3, 5 for all of them. Okay, some of them, yeah, could have been more comfortable with the 1, 2, 4. For example, diminished is a good example. It could be 1, 2, 4. But I've purposely used 1, 3, 5 just to get used to that basic shape. Of course, I had to close up a little bit to go to the diminished, but it was still the basic shape. It's almost the same. Okay, so and by using the pinky, using 1, 3, and 5, and making sure your pinky also is supported, it's not kind of flat. Okay, you are developing a good hand shape by in terms of this basic shape 1, 3, 5, which is, you know, a very common shape. So consistent fingering I highly recommend. 1, 3, 5 for root position, which is the 5th in the top. 1, 2, 5 for first inversion, which is the root in the top, and 1, 3, yeah, so 1, 2, 5, 1, 3, 5 for the second inversion shape, which is with the 3rd in the top. Okay, so try to be consistent and keep the thumb forward. Don't flatten your arch. Don't pull the thumb back like that. Keep the thumb forward. Keep the thumb forward and try to maintain that arch. And keep a consistent fingering.